The Do Not Call Register, or DNCR, was created to enable individuals and organizations to stop receiving unsolicited telemarketing. Telemarketers must not make telemarketing calls to numbers listed on the DNCR unless the person whose number it is has already consented to receiving such calls. If express consent is given but not for a set period of time, the consent will last for a period of 3 months from the date on which the consent was given. This means that for marketers who use the telephone for cold calling, it's essential to check the register or wash their list against the register to make sure the number they intend to call is not on the list. A number remains on the register indefinitely unless the owner of the number takes action to remove it. The DNCR is intended for phone numbers used for private or domestic purposes by a government body or for emergency services. The numbers can be landlines or mobiles, and the register is not intended for business numbers. In reality, it's estimated that about 20% of the numbers on the register are in fact businesses, and this is partly because many businesses are run from private addresses. If your organization makes telemarketing calls to small businesses, it's worthwhile screening the phone numbers against the DNCR to ensure they're not registered. The DNCR only applies to unsolicited telemarketing calls. So what exactly is a telemarketing call? It's any voice call that markets, advertises, promotes, or offers to sell goods or services. It could include a business opportunity, an investment opportunity, or the sale of land or soliciting donations. Some calls may be predominantly non-marketing related. However, if there's some marketing content in the call, then it will also be subject to the Do Not Call regime. Some organizations use recorded or synthetic calls for telemarketing, so the call is made by a machine. These calls are still subject to the same rules. The law applies equally to outsourced calls, and this includes offshore call centers making calls into Australia. In these cases, compliance with the law will be the responsibility of both the call center and the organization on whose behalf the calls are being made. Telemarketing calls made by certain types of organizations are exempt from the Do Not Call regime. These include calls authorized by a government body, a registered charity, a registered political party, or an educational institution to students or their employers if those students were enrolled by them. Also, there are 5 specific types of calls which are exempt from the Do Not Call regime because they do not have a marketing purpose: a product recall, a fault rectification, appointment rescheduling or an appointment reminder, or calls related to payments. Finally, calls made in response to an inquiry are exempt because those calls were prompted by an earlier inquiry by the customer.